You're listening to the Franchise Freedom Podcast with Giuseppe Grammatico.
Welcome to the Franchise Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Giuseppe Grammatico, your franchise guy, the show where we help corporate executives experience time and financial freedom via franchising. Thanks for joining us today. Got a really excited episode around the secret to finding semi-passive franchise opportunities. And this was a very important episode as it's a very popular topic. So thank you for your feedback. Thank you for your questions. As I mentioned on previous shows, I created this show years ago to really educate where we can and help people figure out if a franchise is a good fit, even if it's a business is a good fit, and really going into various topics. And I spent a bulk of 2023 really focusing in on your specific questions. Not me guessing what I think your questions are, but questions I get daily. If I get it more than once, emails, texts, all that kind of stuff in between conversations, and really putting together a series of frequently asked questions. But for today, again, the topic, the secret to finding semi-passive franchise opportunities. And why this is important is, there's a lot of, we're calling it different things. So semi-passive franchise opportunities, side hustles, semi-absentee. And I wanted to clear up a few things, and you can call it, what you want, and just really kind of explain what is out there and some things to look into. So just to recap from a previous episode, the three types of ownership. You really have what we call full-time, where the franchisor expects you to be full-time in the business, at least initially to get it up and running, learn the business before, maybe putting a general manager in place. There's what we call semi-absentee, which I really, I've really kind of changed the approach or the wording, and it's really, being able to keep a job and run a business on the side. And then there's semi-passive, what I classify as semi-passive. Very few options in this space, an area that's growing, but areas where you are putting in minimal effort into the business, owning the business, but essentially having a management company run the day-to-day. And that's similar to the hotel model. If you're familiar with that, own that business and have a management company running the day-to-day. So full-time, we're not going to focus on that. So we're going to focus on number 2 and 3. And number 2, again, just to recap, semi-absentee, it's keeping a job. So, and running a business on the side. So it is going to, and both can be done that way. This is going to require a little bit more effort, learning the business. And this is essentially why it's going to be more effort is there's really no management company. And that third option, I know sounds really impressive, but I always tell people, not offered in every state, few options there, particularly in the home services space. And you are paying a premium, which is typically a percentage of revenue, just like a royalty as a management fee. So you're focusing on the semi-absentee, the hours are going to range. I've had this discussion more than once, and really what it comes down to is keeping your job, running that side business, that side hustle, and then eventually having the option to transition and leave that job, to run this business. And when I talk about kind of the secrets to finding these opportunities, number 1 is, talking with the franchisor and saying, okay, if this is a semi-passive or semi-absentee opportunity, what is in place to truly make that semi-absentee? So what I coach people on and questions to ask are, number 1, what am I getting, to make this a semi-absentee specifically support-wise? And that may look like turnkey marketing, where they handle all the marketing for you, the digital spend, the SEO, the pay-per-click, the Facebook and Instagram ads, et cetera, et cetera. So that may look like that, where those leads are getting funneled to an in-house call center. So really what they're doing is they're taking the marketing and the call center off your plate, allowing you to focus on the business, allowing you to employ less people, allowing you to potentially also not have an office. So less costs overall, less moving parts, because you don't need the office, you don't need the staff. Someone leaves in the call center, or they're being, it's a responsibility of the franchisor. You are paying a fee, but it's going to be much more. It's going to be much less than having to employ a full-time staff of telemarketers, or I should say a call center, as well as that marketing company, in-house marketing. So that marketing, that turnkey marketing, they're going to leverage what they're learning to be able to apply that to the other franchisees. So those are some things to look for. So I think when you look at the equation of the secret to finding, I think people stop there. I think people say, okay, what does the franchisor offer me, and that's it. And I just had this conversation with a first time, what will be a first time business owner, and I said, okay, some companies offer marketing, some companies offer a call center, some companies will provide an outline of the ideal manager, offer some training there, which is great. Some brands will have a in-house recruitment department where they'll find all your W-2 and or 1099 contractors for the business. So depending on the company, there's always going to be some kind of costs for this, but they will try to mitigate as much of the risk, offer you these services, so it's less manpower, less moving parts. You're not worrying about constantly, if there's a revolving door, constantly replacing people. So I think that's very important. Finding out, talking with franchisees that are running it semi-absentee, extremely important. That's called validation. Talking to people that maybe started full-time and later on semi-absentee to get some feedback. But the missing piece, and maybe this is more of the secret, is in order to make this work, where a manager is needed, you have to find the right manager. And what I mean by that is, just like we reverse engineer the process to help you find a franchise, you really need to reverse engineer the process of finding that manager. And what does that look like? Well, it looks different for every single person. So the franchisor may give you kind of a template of maybe a general post or duties that the general manager should run. But really, when you're running the day-to-day, you need to look at specifically not the total hours, but when you can work this business with your job. So I've noticed a trend. A lot of people are working from home, giving them more flexibility. So with that being said, they're able to maybe spend more time, responding to email and on the phones with clients and their staff, just because they're not in an office and they have that flexibility. So if you have that flexibility to work a few hours during the day, in the evenings, nights and weekends, great. Some people don't have that flexibility. They report to an office and, it's really nights and weekends. So I always say you never want to be a bottleneck in your business. I've made some of those mistakes where you had to approve every decision. So if in that case, if you're getting an email at 8 a.m. and you're responding at 8 p.m., 12 hours later, you're just doing a disservice to the business. So as part of that secret of finding that GM, you need someone that is empowered. So that's the role, right? They are able to make certain decisions within that business, and they know the hours that you are available. So if a difficult decision needs to be made, and it's at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you're not available until after 5, they're going to have to make and really run with what they felt was the best decision. And things that I would do is I would never say that was the wrong decision. I would always support my manager and then go back and say, maybe these are some ways we could have done it a little bit differently, considering X, Y, and Z. So I think the missing piece, that the area that most people overlook is the GM, not just looking at the support of the franchisor, but finding the GM that can work the hours, can work with your schedule. If you are doing the sales and you need someone to do the sales on the 5th day, maybe the GM picks up some of the sales. But what you'll do is you can kind of see and try the different roles, figure out where you need assistance, have the general manager pick up. And then when you eventually transition out of your job into the business, you have a role in place, whether it be full-time or part-time, maybe just overseeing the GM, overseeing the KPIs and the monthly performance and things like that. So that is the missing piece. And I always tell people, make sure the franchisor allows semi-absentee ownership. Look for the support mechanisms and structures that they're going to assist you with. Then go into reverse engineering the process of finding and building, the responsibilities of your general manager. And that's going to help. And it's going to be different for everyone. For the person that has flexibility during the day versus maybe someone that's commuting into an office daily that has less flexibility, if I can talk today. So that is the recommendation there. And if you have those two, kind of, in line. The GM is in place. They go to training with you. That's another big advantage and big plus in my book. If your general manager can go to training with you, that helps. Everyone's on the same page, goes through the same types of training and questions and concerns, or maybe, general manager versus owner questions come up, and that could be a big help. So take a step back, figure everything out, figure out, kind of your time frame, what everything looks like, what type of manager you need, what skill sets they need, what role, when they need to work, when are you available, and you really need to look for ways to be very specific. And lastly, look for ways of keeping them on board. And we talked today actually with someone, and how do you keep that key employee employed and motivated? And in some cases and discussions I've had with other franchisors as well as franchise coaches and consultants was potentially offering phantom equity, where maybe you offer 1-2% a year that they earn of phantom equity, which is essentially, maybe they get a cut of the quarterly profits, where, the more profitable, the bigger bonus they get. And every year that they earn another 1 or 2% up to a max, but they don't own the underlying business itself, equity in the business. So if you go to sell, you still own 100%, but in the meantime, the manager's getting a cut of the profits. That's going to make a huge difference. I employ that in my businesses in the past, because it motivates the general manager to make decisions based off of profitability. Maybe they'll make decisions differently if profitability is at stake, and they know that they're getting, just say, a maximum of 10%. So 10 cents of every dollar in profit goes back to the general manager as a quarterly distribution or bonus. So things to think about. You find the right person, and then you got to hold on to that person. So keeping your staff motivated, keeping it fun, being present. Weekly meetings. The list goes on, where you talk about the wins, you talk about the losses, you talk about everything in between. You talk about ways of improving the business. Giving everyone a fair say in the business goes a long way. So anyway, that's my secret. Had a long conversation today. It was top of mind. So I said, why don't I do a quick little recording on this? So thanks again for your questions. Thanks again for the content. Looking forward to your comments. Keep them coming. We read and respond to all of them. You can send us an email, gg@ggthefranchiseguide.com. You go to the website, again, ggthefranchiseguide.com. We're redoing the site. We'll have a new site up relatively soon. Take advantage of all the resources, the FAQ page, the book, the workshops, anything we can help to educate. And if you are, have an interest in learning about a specific topic we haven't covered, send it my way. We'll possibly create a new show covering that specific topic. So again, till we speak again, thanks again for your support and questions, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. Whenever you're ready, here are 3 ways Giuseppe can help. 1. If you've ever considered owning a business of any kind, you owe it to yourself to get a copy of Giuseppe's book, Franchise Freedom. Download your free copy at ggthefranchiseguide.com/book. 2. Want to understand how successful executives make the transition from corporate to owning their own franchise? Join Giuseppe's next online presentation, Franchise Freedom: How to Escape the Corporate World and Have Financial and Time Freedom by Owning a Franchise, by going to ggthefranchiseguide.com/video. 3. Want to work with Giuseppe one-on-one to identify the right franchise opportunity for you, to navigate the process, and get plugged into experienced franchising advisors? Send him an email to gg@ggthefranchiseguide.com with one-on-one in the subject, and he'll send you all the details.